If you're listening to this and you pay attention to the student loan news, you know that it has been a crazy last couple of weeks as it pertains to the Department of Education and federal student loans. And in particular, the last 7 to 10 days or so have seen a lot of headlines that if I had a federal student loan balance, I would be up in arms. So we want to make sure we did an episode to walk you through some of the things that have occurred, let you know the things that are not that big of a deal versus some things that are a pretty big deal. And if it is a big deal, how you should handle them. So my goal for this episode is to walk through some of these updates in terms of the timeline of events and then tell you what to do based on that timeline. We're going to start with the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals and their order regarding the SAVE plan. We have spent a ton of time on this in previous episodes, so I'm not going to litigate it. Again, I'll just say that if you listen to past episodes, you know that the SAVE plan is an income-driven repayment plan that is basically dead in the water. But the Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals also said that in addition to the SAVE plan being, potentially illegal in their eyes, they also said that we think that the pay-as-you-earn plan and income contingent repayment plan may have overstepped as well, and that the forgiveness offered by those plans needs to be authorized by Congress, and it wasn't. So it's thrown those three income-driven repayment plans in flux. Now, what was the result of that Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals order? What was the response? Well, the Department of Education is now under a new administration. The Trump administration, prior to this go-round, has expressed disdain for student loan forgiveness. Republicans in the past have tried to do away with public service loan forgiveness. So it's not a surprise that they are not keen on fighting for the SAVE plan, and that they think that many of the things that have been offered to those under income-driven repayment is too generous. So what they did in response was they flat out took down the applications for not just the SAVE plan, not just pay as you earn, not just income contingent repayment, but also the income-based repayment plan. They took down the online application for all payments under the income-driven repayment plan umbrella, which is interesting because while the court did cast doubt on the three plans that we mentioned, there is a payment plan under that umbrella, the income-based repayment plan, that was created by Congress and whose legality is almost cemented in stone. So the fact that they are just pulling down all of the applications, including for that plan, is something that seems punitive, right? They know that that plan is legally sound, but they are against the student loan forgiveness process. They're trying to cut costs wherever they can. So they're just going to essentially take everything down and see what happens and force people to press the issue. So the IDR applications are down. They also took down the applications for consolidating student loans. And while they do still allow you to access and download or print off the paper application for a consolidated student loan, the online versions of each of these applications has been pulled down. So that's the second little stop in the timeline as it relates to today's episode. Next up, and this is the big update, or I should say, I think it's the most actionable update. So we're going to talk about what occurred before the break, and then we're going to talk about the fallout after the break. So what occurred? This weekend, a memo that the Department of Education sent to a few federal student loan servicers was leaked. And in that memo, the Department of Education instructed those servicers to not only stop processing new applications for forgiveness, meaning for someone who had met their 20 or 25-year obligation, the department is telling those servicers to not process those forgiven loans and wipe the balance away. They also told them to stop processing new applications for income-driven repayment plans completely. So for someone who is trying to get onto an income-driven repayment plan, they're telling them to stop the processing of those applications. They also are telling them to not allow borrowers to recertify. So if I am in a position where I'm on the pay-as-you-earn plan, it's the anniversary of my plan, and I'm required to give my tax returns, my pay stubs to update my income, they're telling them to not process those recertification applications. They also told them to stop processing all pending applications for consolidating loans. So for people who may have in the past couple of months tried to consolidate their loans, maybe they did it online or via paper application, the Department of Education told those servicers to stop the processing of all those pending applications. They did instruct them to continue processing paper applications for consolidated loans, but for those applications, they are telling them to not allow anyone to sign up for an income-driven repayment plan. The only plans that will be available are standard plans, graduated plans, and extended plans. So they did all that. No new IDR applications, no processing of IDR forgiveness, no processing of pending consolidation applications that were online or paper. For any new applications that are received via paper application, they can consolidate the loans, but they can't allow the people to choose an income driven repayment plan. And for all of those things, they gave that order for the next 3 months. Now, if you read news stories or stay tapped in with people who kind of stay closer to the updates and when things occur in the student loan space than I do, they will tell you that this order isn't likely to stand for the entirety of those 3 months. They're saying it could be a month, it could be a few weeks. So we don't know how long it will occur, but the very fact that it's where we are right now is a huge deal.